Hi, it's Chris from Epix Systems. This is a short video to explain the communications module of our system. Now, the communications could also be known as the letter templates or maybe the email templates. We use the communications module to trigger the sending of some form of a communication direct from a job or an invoice. So that could be a letter sent to a resident to advise them that you're coming to their property to do some work. It could be a quote template that you could send out to a resident or a business owner quoting them for some works. And the benefit to doing it using the communications aspect of our system is that you can then send a custom personalised letter to that person. So on the letter you could set up a default template advising of a first appointment, and then from the job on our system we would pull in information such as the client name, their address, perhaps the date that the appointment is, and maybe even the job number as well. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you how that works and how you can make that work for you. You would normally find this particular area of the system underneath the setup menu, and in my system here it's called communications templates. It could be called letters in yours or any variation on that, but you'll be looking for communications or letters. And if you haven't got that, then do get in touch with us and we can add that to your menu if needed. So if we click on there, we'll get the search screen where we can have a look at what templates are already set up by searching using any of these criteria here, or we can press the new entry button to create a new one. I'll start by pressing the show all and then pressing search to give us an idea of what sorts of things are available. So here you can see some already set up in my demo system, and we've got here a appointment letter, we've got three here to do with invoicing, and we've got some things to do with gas servicing and reminder letters. If I click on the edit button over here for the appointment letter, this will take us into the edit screen where we can make any changes that we want to that letter. Just to explain the screen that you're looking at, over here we've got the editor where we can make changes to the template. Here we have the tools that you can use, a little bit like a word processor, where you can change the font, perhaps the alignment, and maybe add bullet points and do copying and pasting, that kind of thing. Here is where you would put the content, and over here is the details about what this communications template actually is. So we always give them a reference, a description to say exactly what this is, and then we link it to a type of communication. Now the most commonly used is letter, so that's what we're going to do today. And over here the communication style is to what this is linked to. So this particular letter is linked to a job. You could link it to an invoice as well, but we're going to do also a job because we're going to create our own quote letter a little later on. Back onto the letter itself, you've probably already noticed that you've got some words surrounded by the percentage symbol. These are fields that are pulled in from the database, and we call these replacements, or sometimes you might hear us as Epix call them substitutions. The list of replacements are found down here, and this drop-down list contains all available replacements to do with the communication style that you've chosen. So this, at the moment, is the list for jobs, and if you were to select invoice, then the list would be a little bit smaller and the items would relate specifically to invoicing. So if we put that back to job, the items in this list, some of them do make some sense from the description of the words on the screen. However, some of them are not immediately obvious what it might be. If you're in any doubt, then you can feel free, of course, to ask us at Epix, or just simply playing with them and adding them onto a template and seeing what you get. Certain ones you'll use more often than not, and the very common ones I will cover on the quote letter that we're just about to do. But to give you an idea, over here on the left hand side, the asset contact and the asset address and the asset postcode, these are all to do with the site that this job is for. So if you'd raised a job for number 1 Church Street, then this would be the contact at that site, so perhaps Mr. Smith. The address would be number 1 Church Street and the rest of the address, and the postcode would be the postcode for that property, and we would pull that through onto the letter, so that when you do this letter again for number 2 Hill Street, you don't have to type the address, it automatically pulls in the relevant contact and the relevant postal address as well. This one over here is the contractor logo, that's your logo. So in this system, this would pull through the Epix systems logo from here. The date, of course, is today's date, and the job references are the ticket and job no, and these are all the information that you would get from the job sheet itself. You might know those as customer reference, but the job no is the main client or customer reference. And the job, well, that's the job description, so the words that you type when creating the actual job. So if the job was please attend site and fix the leaking tap, then that would be what appears here when you generate the letter. There are, of course, others on this letter template, but you get the idea as to how these work, and I'll show you how to insert them when we create our new template in just a moment. If I press cancel and then go to new entry, this will load a blank template where we can then go and construct our own letter. I'm going to begin over here on the right hand side by providing a reference. So I'd like to call this one a quote. I'm going to call it 1. So this is going to be quote template 1, and this will be a letter and it will be related to a job. So first of all, I'm going to construct this just like a letter, and you can play around with this to your heart's content to work out how this best works for you. You might have headed notepaper already that you use in your own printers, for instance, if you wanted to actually print this out. But if you're going to be using this as an emailable letter, then you might want to add in your information onto this, almost like a headed notepaper as well, with your logo. So you could do that. Let's say right align this, and then from the available replacements, if we scroll down to the contractor logo and then press insert, that will, when you generate the letter, insert your logo from the system, same as it does on visit prints and job sheets and invoicing. So if I put ourselves a line space, let's say I wanted to put today's date, I could scroll down to the letter D and put the date and insert that as well. And another line space, and back over to the left hand side. I might decide, this is a very basic template, but I could put the dear, and then this would be the asset contact, because this would be the contact at the site that this work is for. So if I insert that, and let's say this is a please find details below for a quote regarding job reference, and if I put in the job no, which is the job number, and let's say I might put in here the job details, and that could be the actual details of the job. And then finally, if I've used some quote lines, I might decide to put in the lines with a description, and this is the sales lines, and I'll show you this on the job sheet in just a moment, but this could be the lines with the description and a rate and so on. So if I insert that and I make that center aligned, then I should just very quickly sign the letter off. Of course, you might decide to format this a lot nicer than I have in this demo. So what we might do, we might decide to put here the job reference in bold. We might want to put that in bold as well. Maybe the job details in italics, and we'll put this in a line up there like that. Now we could include any other replacements that we wish, but let's say that we're happy with that letter template. At this stage, all I would do is I would press continue to save it. But just to run down what we've done, we've inserted the logo and the day's date that you generate the letter. We've inserted the asset contact for whoever this is going to, and we've also included the job number, the job details, and the quote lines that you might have added to the job. So if I press continue now to save this, this has now saved itself as quote 1, and I can now go into a job and use this communications template. If I quickly go back to the dashboard, and from my list of say supervisor jobs here, I shall select any one of these. This one here will do. We can see on here at the top of the job sheet there's a button labelled communications, and that's where we launch the communications template so that you can trigger sending letters or emails from this job. But first I want to add a sales line because I want to use this as a quote template. So I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to add a new sales line. I'm just going to use a manual code for now, and in the description I'm just going to simply type new boiler. New boiler as discussed, ordered quantity of 1, and the rate for the new boiler, let's say this is going to cost our customer £2,000 today. And I add that, and then I press continue. So all I've done there is I've added a ordered sales line to the job, and there it is. So if I now go back up to the top and press onto the communications button, we can see here on this particular job that this customer has already had a gas servicing letter sent out to them, and you could click on there to regenerate that letter to see it again. But I want to send the quote template that I've just made. So if I type the word quote, the one we did was quote 1, and I press continue. This takes us into the editing screen. So as you can see, it's pulled through our client logo and today's date. It's also pulled through the contact at the site, and that's the site contact, or the resident maybe. I added a replacement here for the job number, so please find details for quote regarding that job number, which is what's come in here. And the job details is the description, service the boiler. And I added the quote line here. Now I've just noticed a very deliberate mistake that I put in, that I've spelt the word contact incorrectly. Well, that's okay, because from this editing screen here I can change that. I could also add any more text that I wish to this before finally pressing either the print button or email. So firstly, the email button. This allows us to email this as a letter within the body of the email itself. So we could fill in the email address of the person that we want to send this to, and then we could press send email. Because it's come from the job sheet, we could also attach the job sheet should we wish, and the letter itself as a PDF file could also be attached by pressing here. Let's assume I want to edit that template now. I've discovered that really I wanted to put the asset contact address on there. What I would do is I'd press setup and communication templates again. I would find the one that contains the word quote. So it's this one here that we want to edit. And this steps us in to this page here. So let's say, for example, I want to add in the contact address. So I could put, perhaps I'd put the asset contact in. I might also put their address, and then I'll also their postcode too. And let's correct our deliberate mistake from earlier. And then I press continue. That's now saved that template so that the next time I use it, I will then get the changes that I've just made to that template. So now if I go back to our list of jobs here, let's use the list of supervisor jobs, and let's choose a different person this time. Let's use this one. from the job sheet, you can see we've got a sales line already, which is good. If we press communications and select the letter we want, then press continue, what we should now find is that we get, as well as the logo and the date, we also get the contact and their address and a correct spelling of the word contact. So the previous time round I showed you the email function. If we click on the print button, this launches a PDF file containing exactly this letter here, which you could download and print out and post if you needed to, but you could also attach to an email. But if you are sending emails from our system, it's best to do that from here. So clicking on the print button, you can see here it's now downloaded a template. If we click on that, this loads up the PDF file ready for us to use. Well, that's the process for creating, editing and using the communications templates. I appreciate, of course, that was quite a quick tour and there are quite a few replacements that maybe I didn't discuss. If you do have any questions at all, then do give us a shout. Or alternatively, just simply play with these and create your own letter templates just to see what those replacements do and where that information comes from your jobs. As you've seen, of course, this can be used for quotes. You could use it also for no access letters. You could use it to remind a resident that perhaps you're due to attend for an appointment. And of course, you could send out gas servicing letters as well. We have some of our customers using this to great effect to manage the no access process, where you can send, say, 2 or 3 letters, varying in wording depending on the stage of the no access that you're at. As ever, of course, any questions on this, or if you do want any further help, do give us a shout.